Today, we are taking on an absolutely epic journey, the story of the Indian subcontinent. We're talking about a history that stretches back tens of thousands of years, one that's packed with ancient civilizations, world-changing ideas, and massive empires that really did shape the world we live in. So let's dive right in.
And yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How do you possibly cram all of that into just a few minutes? Well, we're going to move fast. We're going to hit the absolute key moments that defined one of the most incredible and enduring civilizations on Earth.
All right, so our story begins long before any kings or empires. It starts with the very first human footsteps on the subcontinent, way back in the Stone Age.
So get this, around 73,000 BCE, the first anatomically modern humans arrived. And this wasn't just a brief visit. This kicked off a continuous settlement that would eventually give the region the second highest human genetic diversity in the world, right after Africa. Just think about that.
For thousands and thousands of years, life was nomadic. But you can literally see the evolution in how people thought and lived just by what they left behind. So on the left, that's the amazing rock art of Benbetka, showing scenes from a hunter-gatherer's life. And then on the right, that's a Neolithic dolmen, a burial chamber that took some serious community organization to build. It's a perfect snapshot of the shift toward more complex societies.
And here is the real game changer, Mehrgar. This is one of the very first places where people stopped wandering and started farming. Kicking off around 7000 BCE, this move to settled agriculture, well, it laid the foundation for absolutely everything that came next.
Okay, so what happens when you have farming? Well, you get cities. Let's look at how that agricultural base gave rise to one of the world's great ancient civilizations and the incredible new ideas that would eventually rise from its ashes.
This was the Indus Valley Civilization, and its scale was just mind-boggling. It was bigger than ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia at the same time. For centuries, it was a true powerhouse of the Bronze Age.
And when we say advanced, we mean advanced. We're talking about perfectly planned cities with uniform bricks, sophisticated roadside drainage, even organized city governments. They were masters of metallurgy and supported a population that might have been over 5 million people. This was a seriously organized urban society.
Just look at this. This is the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro. It's an absolute marvel of engineering, and it points to a complex society that could build large, communal public works. It hints at rituals, at social organization, and a level of planning that is just staggering for its time.
But it didn't last forever. Sometime around 1900 BCE, after centuries of success, climate change hit hard. A long, persistent drought forced people to abandon these incredible cities, scattering into smaller villages and setting the stage for a completely new era.
So after the Indus Valley cities declined, new people arrived. Indo-Aryan tribes migrated from Central Asia, and they brought with them a very different, more nomadic, pastoral culture. Their incredible oral tradition was eventually written down in the Vedas, these huge collections of hymns, like the Rig Veda you see here, and they kick off what we call the Vedic period.
Now, fast forward to about 600 BCE, and the established Vedic cultures started getting a major intellectual challenge. These groups of wandering thinkers and ascetics, the Shramana movements, started questioning the old rituals and ideas. And out of this amazing period of philosophical debate came two major world religions that are still with us today: Jainism and Buddhism.
Right on the heels of all this spiritual and philosophical change, well, a political one was brewing. Ambitious rulers started thinking about unifying the subcontinent for the very first time.
And that thinking led to this: the Maurya Empire. Founded by Chandragupta Maurya, it became the single largest political entity the subcontinent had ever seen. It stretched all the way from the Himalayas down into southern India and even into parts of modern-day Afghanistan.
Now, the most famous Mauryan emperor, Ashoka, started out as a brutal conqueror. But after a horrifyingly bloody war in Kalinga, he had a complete change of heart. He embraced Buddhism, completely rejected violence, and dedicated the rest of his rule to spreading peace and righteousness. It's one of the most incredible turnarounds in all of history. So after the Mauryas, a few centuries went by before another great empire rose up. But when it did, wow, it ushered in what's famously known as India's classical Golden Age.
The Gupta Empire, which thrived from the 4th to the 6th centuries, was a time of unbelievable creativity. You had literary giants, scientific geniuses, but maybe its most world-changing innovation was in math, the invention of the numeral system, the very numbers that we all use today. It was a true explosion of arts and sciences with a legacy that's literally global.
And the influence of this golden age spread way beyond its borders. This map of Greater India is so cool because it shows how Indian culture, religion, and even its models of government spread, not by conquest, but peacefully through trade. You had Indianized kingdoms popping up all across Southeast Asia.
The end of the Guptas opened a whole new chapter, a really long and dynamic period where the subcontinent basically became a crossroads, a stage for competing powers from all over.
And just take a look at this timeline. The next 1,000 years or so were a total whirlwind of rising and falling powers. It's complex, it's fast, and it's full of change. Let's try to track the major shifts, okay? So in the 8th century, the first Islamic conquests arrive, which eventually leads to the powerful Delhi Sultanate. Then in the 16th century, the Mughals show up, and they create one of the wealthiest empires in the world. As they start to fade, the Marathas rise to power, right before European companies, especially the British, really start to take over. You see, the one constant was change.
After a massive uprising in 1857, the era of corporate rule ended and the British Crown took direct control of India. This period, known as the British Raj, would become the final imperial chapter in the subcontinent's very long history.
After a long and difficult struggle for independence, British rule finally came to an end in August 1947. But independence came at a cost. It was accompanied by the incredibly painful partition of the subcontinent, which created the new nations of India and Pakistan, and marked a really momentous and often violent new beginning. So from the very first humans to ancient cities, from philosophical revolutions to the rise and fall of countless empires, the story of India is just one of incredible resilience and constant transformation, which of course leaves us with the ultimate question: what on earth comes next?